Welcome to the course. You may or may not have heard before that routine tasks are dangerous. When something becomes routine, we stop questioning it. We stop looking at it critically. And that's exactly what attackers are counting on. Ginny Rometty, the former chairman, president, and CEO of IBM, put it perfectly when she said, cybersecurity is 20% technology and 80% process. That's the leader of one of the world's largest tech companies telling us technology isn't the primary vulnerability. It's our processes, the habits, routines, and daily workflows we've automated in our minds to the point where we no longer consciously think about them. One of the tasks you probably perform more than any other is checking email. The average business professional receives between 100 and 150 emails a day. That's roughly one email every 4 minutes during a standard workday. Now, of course, with that volume, you can't give each email the scrutiny it deserves. Your brain's going on autopilot. Now, cyber attackers will exploit this. They study the patterns of legitimate business communication. They learn that invoices typically arrive at month end. They know HR sends benefits enrollment reminders in November. They know IT departments send password reset notices. They can time their attacks to coincide with these various expected communications. A malicious email arriving when you're expecting a legitimate one is exponentially more likely to succeed. You're not just failing to be suspicious. You're actively expecting it. Your brain fills in the blanks, sees what it expects to see, and clicks before critical thinking even has a chance to engage. In 2023, business email compromise attacks resulted in over $2.9 billion in losses, according to the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center. Those weren't sophisticated zero-day exploits. They were carefully crafted emails that looked exactly like the routine communications employees receive every day. So then there's the attachment reflex. How many times have you downloaded a file without even thinking about it? PDF from a client, spreadsheet from accounting, Word document from your manager. Each of these common file types can contain malicious code. PDFs can execute JavaScript. Excel spreadsheets can contain macros that run automatically. Word documents can include embedded objects that connect to external servers. Even image files can be crafted to exploit vulnerabilities in the software that opens them. The danger is not just in files from unknown senders. If a vendor's email account is compromised, that invoice you receive could be carrying a payload that gives attackers access to your network. The email comes from an address you trust, references projects you're already working on, and uses language that matches your existing communication patterns. Why not open it? Verizon's annual data breach investigations report consistently shows that over 90% of successful malware installations begin with a phishing email containing a malicious attachment or link. This is not because people are careless or unintelligent. It's because the attacks are designed to exploit the very efficiency that makes us productive. Beyond attachments, there are the links in documents, chat messages, calendar invites. We live in a click-through culture where the path from here's information to let me see it is a single click, but that single click can take you anywhere. Attackers purchase domain names that are one character different from legitimate sites. They use URL shorteners to hide malicious destinations. They create convincing replicas of login pages for services you use every day, from Microsoft 365 to your company's HR portal to your bank. Attackers are now even embedding malicious links inside of QR codes. You might receive what looks like a legitimate paper document with a QR code for easy mobile access. You scan it with your phone, which typically has fewer security protections than your work computer, and you've just handed over your credentials or installed malware on a device that connects to your corporate network. Kevin Mandia, the founder and former CEO of Mandiant, the company that investigates some of the world's most significant cybercrime breaches, made a professional and profound observation in a CNBC interview, saying cybercriminals are able to break in because they're breaking human trust. This is the fundamental insight that separates awareness from understanding. Technical vulnerabilities are constantly being patched. Security software is always improving, but human trust, the trust we place in our colleagues, our vendors, and our daily workflows, well, that's a vulnerability that doesn't ever get fully patched. When you get a request that appears to come from your CEO asking you to urgently wire funds for an acquisition. Maybe you don't question it because you trust your CEO. When IT sends you a link to update your password, maybe you don't hesitate because you trust IT. When a vendor asks you to review a contract change, you're accustomed to working with that vendor. You've downloaded documents from them before, so you download this document too. So that's what attackers are exploiting, the trust relationships that make business possible. And they do it through the same channels and workflows that you use legitimately every single day. So there's also a paradox in relationship to collaboration. Think about, how do you share files? Cloud storage platforms like SharePoint, Google Drive, Dropbox, and OneDrive are what people are using all the time now to collaborate. You can share files with people inside and outside your organization with just a few clicks. Varying size documents, not even worrying about it. But that same ease of sharing is creating risk also. You grant access to a folder. Do you remember to revoke it when the project ends? When you share a link that anyone with the link can view, know who that link might eventually reach. When a contractor's engagement ends, are their access permissions removed on that same day, that same week? According to research by Varonis, the average employee has access to 17 million files on their first day of work. Not because they need access to 17 million files, that would be absurd, but because permissions accumulate over time and rarely get cleaned up and are often too broad. Every single one of those files is a potential target. Every excessive permission is an opportunity for an attacker who has compromised a single account. And we have our authentication habits. How many times a day do you enter your username and password? More importantly, how much attention do you pay when you do it? When logging in becomes just a muscle memory, you stop looking at the URL in the address bar if you ever looked at it before, and you stop noticing whether the page looks exactly right. You see a login prompt, you enter your credentials, and you move on with your day. Attackers create pixel-perfect replicas of login pages. They use domains like MicrosoftSecureLogin.com or company name portal.net. These pages look identical to the real thing. Your password autofill might even work, which ironically makes you feel safer. You log in and now an attacker has your credentials. So then this is why we've got multi-factor authentication. But even MFA can be defeated if you're not paying attention. Attackers can use real-time phishing toolkits to capture both your password and your MFA code and use them both before they expire. If you reach an unexpected MFA prompt and approve it without thinking, you might have just granted an attacker access to your account. So the goal of all this is not to make you paranoid about every click. That's not going to be productive, right? It'd be unsustainable, grind your productivity to a halt. But it's a goal of making you conscious about the moments that matter. First, recognize that routine is the enemy of vigilance. The more automatic a task becomes, the more vulnerable it makes you. This doesn't mean you need to treat every email as a potential threat necessarily. It means you need to build in momentary pauses, brief checkpoints where you consciously evaluate what you're about to do. Now, understand also, the second point here that's important to gather from this is that attackers study business patterns. They know when invoices are due, when performance reviews happen, when organizations are distracted by major events. Timing your increased awareness around these predictable moments can also dramatically reduce your risk. And third, just simply accept you're a target. Be aware of it, accept it as a fact. You're a target, not because of anything special about you, no matter how special you are, but because you have access. You have credentials. You have the ability to move money, access data, or make decisions maybe. In the eyes of an attacker, your routine access is exactly what they need. In the next lesson, we'll explore why normal feels safe but isn't. We'll look at the psychological mechanisms that make us vulnerable and how to build defenses that work with human nature instead of against it. But for now, just leave this lesson with this thought. The most dangerous cybersecurity threats don't look dangerous. They look like work. They look like routine. They look like Monday morning.